Aiden had always believed that some moments were so powerful they could shape an entire lifetime, but nothing had ever prepared him for the moment he saw Mia again on that warm, golden evening when the sun dipped low enough to paint the sky in shades of apricot and rose, a sky that looked almost too perfect to be real, the kind that made people believe that the universe sometimes aligned just right. He had been sitting at a small cafe by the river, sipping a lukewarm cup of coffee he had forgotten to drink because he was too lost in his thoughts of the past, of love, of the kind of connection that only happens once and never really leaves you. When he looked up and saw her walking slowly along the riverside path, her hair dancing in the breeze like threads of sunlight, her eyes wandering over the water with the same quiet wonder he remembered so vividly. And in that instant, his heart thudded painfully, as if reminding him that no matter how much time passes, no matter how many memories fade at the edges, some feelings stay carved into the soul forever. He stood without meaning to, his breath catching in his throat, because seeing her was like hearing a song he thought he had forgotten, a melody that lived somewhere deep inside him, and he whispered her name under his breath, EIA, as if afraid that saying it too loudly might make her disappear again, like she had 2 years ago when she walked out of his life with a trembling smile and a letter he never had the courage to open until much later, a farewell that had broken him in quiet ways he never admitted to anyone, not even to himself. And now, as she turned, their eyes meeting across the soft, golden light, he saw the same shock, the same flood of emotions running through her, as if the past 2 years had existed only in calendar pages, but never in their hearts. She took a hesitant step forward, clutching the strap of her bag as if it were the only thing keeping her steady, and he walked toward her with a mixture of hope and fear churning inside him. Each step feeling like a leap across time until they finally stood face to face, breathing the same warm air, surrounded by the distant hum of the city and the gentle whisper of the river flowing behind them. And for a long moment, neither of them spoke, as if words were too small, too fragile to carry what their hearts were screaming, until Mia exhaled shakily and said his name, Aiden, in a voice that carried the weight of years and goodbyes, and the 1,000 unsaid things that had lived between them, and he felt something inside him melt, because her voice was the same soft warmth he had once fallen in love with, the voice he had tried to forget, but never truly could. And all at once he realized that even after everything, he had missed her with a depth he had never confessed to anyone. And then she reached out, almost instinctively, her fingers brushing against his hand, a touch so light it might have been mistaken for nothing. But to Aiden, it was everything, the proof that she was real, that she had returned, that the love they had nurtured in letters, in whispered dreams, and in quiet, stolen moments of the past, was still alive, still burning. And he gripped her hand gently, not wanting to let go, for fear that she would vanish again like a dream fading at dawn. And as they stood there, rain beginning to fall in delicate silvery threads that made the world glisten around them, Aiden noticed the small wooden box she carried, the familiar tomorrow treasure box they had once filled together with letters, each one a promise to the future, each one a fragment of hope. And his throat tightened as memories surged, the nights they had written feverishly, pouring out fears, secrets, and desires into ink-stained pages, the mornings when they read each other's letters, laughing and crying in turns, feeling as if the world outside their little bubble didn't exist, as if time itself had paused to let them exist only for each other. The bittersweet day when she left, leaving him with only a folded note that said, "Forgive me," and live words that had haunted him, driven him to write dozens of letters back to her, never mailed, always saved for the tomorrows that might never come. And now, here she was, rain-soaked and trembling, standing before him, as if all that pain, all that distance, had been nothing more than a test, a cruel separation to make their reunion even more profound. And he could hardly speak, because every emotion he had bottled up, longing, fear, hope, was colliding inside him like a tempest, a storm mirrored by the one that fell softly on the streets around them. And she opened the box slowly, her fingers caressing each envelope like a lover's touch, and whispered, "I kept them all these years. Every letter, every promise, every tomorrow. And Aiden felt tears prick his eyes, not from sadness, but from the overwhelming realization that love could endure absence, that hearts that are meant to beat together will find each other no matter the miles or the years. And without thinking, he pulled her into an embrace, the rain soaking them both, their bodies trembling, not from the cold, but from the emotion that surged between them. And they held on, as if letting go would mean losing the world. And after a long, shuddering moment, Mia lifted her face, her eyes glistening with unshed tears, and whispered, "I'm sorry I left. I thought I had to go. But every night, every day, I missed you. I never stopped hoping for tomorrow." And Aiden cupped her face in his hands, memorizing the softness of her cheeks, the warmth of her skin, the way her eyes reflected the street lamp's glow. And he whispered back, "I never stopped waiting for you. Every letter I wrote, every tomorrow I imagined, was for you. And now you're here. So all the tomorrows we dreamed of can finally be ours." And in that moment, the world around them, the river, the city, the rain, even time itself, faded into insignificance, leaving only them, two souls reunited, hearts beating in perfect synchrony. And they laughed softly, a sound of pure relief and joy. Because after years of longing, after countless letters written to invisible tomorrows, they had finally found the one moment that would define their love forever. And as they walked together under the rain, sharing whispered stories of their separate journeys, of the nights spent missing each other, and the hope that had never left their hearts, they realized that some loves are too strong to be broken, too bright to be dimmed by distance, and too precious to be anything but eternal. And with each step, each shared glance, each tentative smile, they knew that tomorrow would no longer be uncertain, because it would be written together, in every heartbeat, in every breath, and in every letter that would follow, not sent to an empty future, but lived in the infinite, now that had brought them back to each other. And as the rain softened to a gentle drizzle, Aiden took Mia's hand, holding it like a lifeline, and whispered, "This is the beginning of all our tomorrows." And she smiled, a smile that held relief, love, and a quiet promise. And in that infinite, rain-kissed night, surrounded by the soft hum of life continuing around them, they finally understood that love was not just the moments shared in happiness, but the moments endured apart, the letters written in hope, and the quiet, unwavering belief that some hearts are destined to find each other no matter what. And in that understanding, in that perfect, fragile, and enduring connection, they knew with absolute certainty that they had arrived at their one moment to remember, a moment that would echo in their souls forever, a moment that was both an ending and a beginning, a moment that promised all the tomorrows they had ever dreamed of, together. And as the morning light fully stretched across the city, warming the wet streets and reflecting off the puddles like 1,000 tiny stars, Aiden and Mia rose from the park, carrying the wooden box together, as if it were a sacred relic of everything they had endured. And as they walked hand in hand through the quiet streets, the air smelled of rain and possibility, and every step felt lighter, freer, as though the weight of months and years apart had been lifted at last. They laughed softly, exchanging whispered jokes and playful nudges, reveling in the joy of being together again, the kind of joy that fills every empty corner of the heart and reminds you that life, even with its sorrows and separations, has a way of bringing the right people back to where they belong. And Mia turned to him, eyes sparkling with mischief and love, saying, "Do you remember when we thought writing letters to tomorrow would be enough? We had no idea that one day tomorrow would actually arrive, bringing us back to each other." And Aiden smiled, brushing a strand of damp hair from her face, feeling the steady warmth of her hand in his, and said softly, "It was never just the letters, EIA. It was our hearts that never stopped speaking, our souls that never stopped waiting. The letters were only a bridge, and now we've crossed it together." And she squeezed his hand, resting her head briefly against his shoulder as they continued walking. And for the first time in what felt like forever, the future no longer seemed uncertain or frightening, but filled with endless possibilities, a canvas waiting for them to paint it with love, laughter, and shared dreams. As they reached the little cafe where Aiden had first seen her, that unforgettable afternoon, the memory of that first glimpse, the spark of recognition and wonder, made them pause, and they stepped inside together. The familiar aroma of coffee and warm pastries, embracing them like a comforting hug, and they sat at the corner table, where he had first noticed her, looking at each other and realizing that every lonely night, every letter written in hope, every moment of longing had led them exactly here, to this table, to this warmth, to this shared breath. And Mia opened the wooden box once more, letting the letters fall gently across the table, and they read aloud excerpts together, smiling, laughing, and sometimes pausing to wipe away tears, marveling at how their love had endured, how it had grown stronger, deeper, richer through the separation, and how every promise made on paper had now become reality in the living, breathing world around them. And as the sunlight poured in through the cafe windows, casting a golden glow over their intertwined hands, Aiden looked into Mia's eyes and whispered, "From now on, every tomorrow is ours to write together." And she responded with a soft, confident nod, a smile breaking across her face, the kind that held everything: love, trust, hope, and the certainty of togetherness. And they knew that the letters they had written were not merely words, but the vessels of their devotion, the proof that hearts that are patient, faithful, and brave enough to wait can overcome distance, silence, and time. And as the day moved forward, they left the cafe hand in hand, walking through the city, every street and corner now filled with meaning, every breeze carrying the gentle reminder of their reunion, every laugh and glance cementing the bond that had survived absence. And as they returned home that evening, the box of letters safely tucked beside them, Aiden realized that love is not only measured by the moments shared, but by the moments endured, the patience kept, and the hope that never falters. And in that understanding, in that infinite embrace of past and present, and every tomorrow to come, Aiden and Mia finally knew what it meant to love unconditionally, to trust completely, and to cherish every heartbeat as a treasure. Because some loves, like theirs, are not bound by time, not broken by distance, and not faded by absence. And in that realization, as the sun set and painted the sky in shades of amber and rose, they stood together, holding hands, hearts aligned, souls intertwined, knowing with absolute certainty that they had found there forever a love that would endure every tomorrow, and that this, the return, the reunion, the shared laughter, the whispered promises, the letters, the rain, the city, and the quiet certainty of being together was their true moment to remember, a moment that would live in their hearts for the rest of their lives, a moment that made every lonely night, every longing, every tear worthwhile, because it led them to each other. And now, finally, they were home.